Starting the stream. Starting the stream.
Kind of only 2 minutes.
15,000 gold would be enough to retire on for your average peasant.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, are you kidding? Like a peasant does makes like 50 gold a year or something.
15,000 would they would be comfortable for the rest of their life, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. And most of their family as well. Yeah, it would be a good retirement fund.
If you had that money as a peasant, you would be very nervous that someone found out you had that money.
Yeah, you'd be. Oof.
If I found a peasant with 15,000 gold, he might, have some thoughts.
Yeah.
Announcement.
But that money would not be enough for Amanas to retire, I'm sure.
No. I mean, Amanas wouldn't take the money itself, but he would inform Vickers of what he has seen, and then trust that Vickers did the right thing, which is to murder the peasant and take all the money off.
I wouldn't murder the peasant. I'd just relieve the peasant of his riches and have him none the wiser. That's a better torture.
Apparently. And the spy master isn't the court assassin. They don't go around killing everyone.
No, he solves my problem, and my problem is that I don't have the 15,000 gold of the peasant.
Right.
Well, in that case, he can steal it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I have Vickers around. There are some things I can't do as the ruler, but I need to get done anyway.
Again, peasants shouldn't be walking around with that much gold. So.
No, see, that's illegal, I'm sure.
Alternatively, if you want to go a different route with it, you can always try speaking to your new warden and see if he can just find the money out of the peasant.
Yeah, the peasant has actually built his house on ancient royal grounds, so now...
There's only two things certain in life: death and taxes.
Exactly.
And sometimes they are the same thing.
Yes, as it turns out sometimes.
I mean, I just kind of like the idea now, though, of our new Dragonborn showing up and taxing this poor peasant of 15,000 gold for building violations.
Yeah.
I want...
You haven't declared how much wealth you own, therefore the fine is probably all the wealth you have anyway.
Yeah. You haven't declared how wealthy you are, therefore you are no longer wealthy. Thank you.
We are assuming that you are as wealthy as you possibly could be, so take
yes, and since you haven't declared it, clearly you have gotten this through some illegitimate means, and they must be right.
Clearly, we need to.
I think Torin definitely should become Judge Dredd, pretty much.
Well, I mean, we've all got like names like Ceres' Sorrow. We got Azeel. Maybe that's Torin's. Is Dread.
Yeah.
Lord Dread. I'm gonna seal Vickers Mercy. Ceres, well, you have lost your taken last name for Sorrow.
Sorrow, yeah.
Yeah, Ceres Sorrow. We have Seal Vampire, and then we have Torin Dread. I mean, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
You need to play the part of ambiguously villainous heroes.
It's just a misunderstanding.
I'm here to reclaim what's mine. That's the...
Right.
That's what they all say.
Yeah, I think I briefly mentioned at the beginning that I was thinking about alignment and stuff, and I was thinking lawful good. And then I looked at the other character sheets, and I was like, maybe not good.
Maybe not good. I love that. That's what part of the spectrum you chose not to go with.
I mean, it's not like we're not good. It's just that we aren't good 100% of the time.
We've just discussed for half an hour how we would immediately take all the money from a peasant who we consider to be too wealthy.
Sure, but that's all hypothetical.
Listen, Chip. My divine destiny supersedes any petty ownership laws. All right.
To be honest, Ceres' desire for knowledge is also
the desire for knowledge and coin. Imagine all the knowledge I could buy for this gold.
Hey,
as unlikely as it sounds, the spy master is actually the straight man in this situation.
It's very true.
Here comes the other reason why we are not a good party.
Maybe I should turn Vickers into something else and have Seal be the spy master, because I think I get the feeling that Seal has no scruples whatsoever.
What?
I get the feeling she would strangle a baby easily.
You don't want someone with no scruples as your spy master, because then they'll backstab you.
That's
Oh
true.
my god.
I need some loyalty here.
However,
Listen, Seal, listen. No, listen, Seal. I know this is gonna sound heavy, but you need to listen. That baby, just choke the baby to fucking death, and burn the house and get out of there. All right?
Can
It's
I just
fine.
say we are live?
I'm
So
just saying
What
you do.
the fuck?
I'm just saying, worst case, you have a lawful evil royal enforcer right now. So
my gosh.
Sometimes a baby gotta get choked. I mean, if my sister has an heir, that heir needs to die.
If you keep
Sure.
talking, it's not gonna be a baby. It's gonna get choked. Just
What?
saying.
What do you mean? No, listen.
oh, by the way, this would be public knowledge. Your sister does have an heir.
God damn it! Well,
Not
we got-
anymore.
All right, Seal,
God,
you're gonna
anymore.
choke that baby.
Oh my god.
How old is the heir?
That I would have to look up. They're not a baby though.
Okay, well,
They're not an adult either, though, if I believe correctly.
we have skirted outright atrocity for now, and that's good.
Yeah, you're
It's
all
a
we need to do
toddler,
is
not a
invent
baby.
time
We have
travel
some plausible deniability.
If the creature can walk and talk, it is no longer a baby. All right.
I mean, it can do both of those. Indeed.
All right, then we're in the clear. Then we're fine.
I somehow feel that I'm expendable in this case.
What? No.
Nah, we
you're
never said you were
incredibly valuable,
expendable.
actually.
Yeah.
You are expendable as far as you are competent. So if you
You-
continue to be competent, then you're not expendable. See?
You are definitely not expendable. Who I'm gonna ask to
No,
choke
it
babies
isn't
if
the
not
half
you?
vampire that killed the baby by the king's orders. It was
I
just
mean, isn't
half
that just
vampire's
isn't that
own
just
orders.
like how vampires do things anyway? So it's fine.
I don't know. I'm not a vampire. I'm just a half vampire.
I guess.
The peasants won't know that. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, please, Dark, save us from this
But-
waiting room.
Oh, no, I'm leaving you to this man.
Oh my
If
god,
it's a necessity, it cannot be done.
it's never going to be a necessity to kill
I
a
mean,
baby.
I don't know. Seems like it's gonna be.
No, it's not.
This is what I like to hear. You know, this is a team player talking.
Though now I'm imagining some of the more creative kills from Dishonored series. Or
Oh no!
disposal methods in the Dishonored series.
Oh gosh.
Yes, drop down from a church. Just Assassin's Creed it.
Seriously, reconsidering my oath.
I was too late.
I
for
don't
that,
have an
sorry.
oath, so I'm a freelancer.
You know, I just want to point out this is exactly why Torrin hasn't spoken one yet.
How would he know that we talk about these things?
No, but
Well,
there's a thought.
and look, Torrin has expertise and insight. He knows.
All right,
Yeah.
fair
Yeah,
enough.
he has looked at Amanas and he's been like, there is something here. I
This
feel.
man would definitely strangle a baby.
If that baby was sleeping on top of 15,000 gold.
Why is it necessary? Just take the gold.
Or was the coming heir of the throne? Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, fair
the heir to the throne was sleeping on top of gold.
But the important part here, though, is the greed. It's you want the gold.
I want both, really.
This is why the king has a council that does these decisions for him.
Yeah, I'm very constrained here.
I'm also very concerned.
I am just confused.
That's fine. That's a good way to start.
I'm just incredibly confused.
Well, I'm gonna grab a drink and some snacks, and then I am good to go.
That sounds like a wonderful idea. Everyone else, make sure you're logged on.
Yep.
If you're curious, Halldamir, I do have the April Fool's tab open if you want to have a look at the pony map, the pony screen. It's full of this. Feel free to take a look at that. Also, because I noticed I got a request for it, I will go ahead after the session and post all of the ponies into chat.
Great.
Because friendship's so important, Valky.
It is, yes. Sorry, I was distracted.
Talking friendship after, discussion how to kill a baby. Or what is
Nah,
a baby.
I have to.
True friendship.
I mean,
Bit of a shift in mindset to go straight into role playing from that thought. I gotta say.
Nope.
it really is a good thing that our characters are not, in fact, horses because it would be difficult to strangle babies with hooves.
Though you say difficult, but is it impossible? I think no.
I mean,
You know, Valky, we're gonna beat this dead horse of a joke until it stops being funny.
That's fine. I'm just suffering for it. Because Jonas is laughing in the background. I cannot do anything about it.
Why is he laughing in the background now?
I mean,
because his joke has so much traction now that it just keeps going.
Yeah, Halldamir, since you missed it, I did reveal the April Fool's tab if you want to look at the ponies in their full majesty.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Well, more likely the flashback screen I made.
My little pony, my little pony.
It was even named.
That's great. Pony Bond's Tale of Friendship. With the rainbow.
See, I replaced our banner with a much more fitting one.
Yeah. Hang on.
Wonder if my sneak attack is reflected now with my level up. Let me check.
Oh, that's it. That's right.
I don't have I've done a mass re-import. I don't know what's changed and what hasn't.
You know what's really funny? Mel jokingly put on My Little Pony one day when Renara was a little younger, just to see what he would do. And we watched like the first episode. So it turns out that each main character embodies like a pony power. And funnily enough, I think there's 5.
I'm learning more about My Little Pony than I ever knew.
Oh no, there's 6. Is that 6? What? 1? Honesty, kindness, laughter,
I'm
generosity.
trying very hard to imagine what constitutes a pony power, but somehow I don't want to know the. Just let's. Hello, everyone.
It's the elements of friendship.
I think we were about talking about a different topic, which is far more appropriate for this channel, which is strangling babies.
Yeah, that's true. That's very appropriate.
This is what you guys subscribe for.
It is. What's the sound that my audio sample rate is low? I can't change that mid-session.
Things are fixed. I just re-added the Radiant Rider on top of the tanks.
My stuff work?
Should. You haven't changed it.
Yeah. Please let me know if anything's not working. But
What are you saying, game? Not game, stream. Saying like your sample rate for audio is low. It should be 128. Like bit rate should be 128. It's 160. What are you on about?
Oh, I can just roll this. Oh, this is so useful. Sorry, I got carried away.
There was some massive updates. Actually, it took my computer like a serious couple of minutes, which was quite impressive to actually download all the updates.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I haven't tested any of it though, so I have no idea what works and what doesn't.
Well, my stuff seems to work perfectly fine. So
excellent.
Seems right.
If it works on the D&D Beyond, it will probably work here.
Yeah. Oh, look
Wait
at
a
that
minute.
damage. Look at
What's
that.
this? Oh, this works.
Yeah.
I did it on D&D Beyond, and it somehow
What does it come over?
yeah, it came over.
Seriously?
I made a custom item with the haste spell added on.
That,
and
Anything like that the D&D Beyond importer tries to turn into its closest match on here.
Yeah,
it's great. It works
that's pretty
perfect.
good.
That's sweet. I love it.
Like I've got a ring of truth telling and things. Nice.
Oh yeah, you do. It's like what advantage on wisdom insight, right? To tell people are telling the
Yeah,
truth.
12 they're telling the truth. Yeah. Exactly that. Also, I've got the wand of magic missile. If anyone wants that.
Does it require achievement or?
Hang on, let me just.
Pretty sure it does. Maybe not though.
Okay, wand of magic missile. I don't think it does.
All right, I need
wands
to
require attunement.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, if you're not using it, I'll take it.
No, I don't. I do so much damage.
Sure, I'll take it. I can find some use for it.
Let me see if I can drag it over. We should be able to. I believe this functionality exists.
It should.
It sometimes exists.
You might not have permission though to modify
This-
my sheets.
Yeah, it's not like
Maybe perhaps Stark can do
it.
it.
Might have
if
to
he
be
has
a
time.
dark job.
What do you want moved over?
The
The
wand
magic
of
missile
magic
wand.
missile.
Le Magic Missile?
Magic
Wow.
missile.
I still have my whip. Forgot about that.
Don't have an Isaac note. What?
Oh, sweet. Yeah, it works.
Oh, that's right. Alright, it's different because it's Toph's staff of the Ever Frozen.
Oh. So what does this do?
Does it do echo damage?
One
And
charge first
specials.
level. Okay. This is great.
Okay. But in that case, we'll try to get the show on the road. Try to.
Yes. Yes, let's do it.
Apologies about running late today, but, well, yeah.
It happens. Not to worry.
Welcome back, one and all. Not to Pony Bonds, but instead to Blood Bonds, a tale of the Ashen Court. Last time, you all completed your journey back from Sorkai. No, from Silver Swift back to your city of Sorkai. I'll get it right. You took a rather leisurely trip back on a civilian boat, and not too much happened for the most part. There were some discussions and some talks, and the group, while they have not had a full ceremony or a full grove, they have managed to bury Zed's body in the courtyard of Sorkai's palace, putting up a stone plinth, as well as building in the thermal cube, so that his grave may give solace to any who visit from the harsh cold of the north. You also last time received news from Lady Eliza that apparently a blood elf has been captured in her territory, wandering around, and is currently in custody.
Right, and only presumably only speaks Elvish.
So far, at least, no attempts to communicate in common have not succeeded.
Yeah, it's Lorenzo's order that she said would come looking. So.
Yeah. That's fine.
But with that, though, the group finds themselves in a bit of a lull for a couple of days. You have declared your intentions, which is you plan to attempt to clear out, at least begin clearing out, the Sapphire Spire, Sorkai's giant, icy, magical tower.
Yes.
As right now, you only have access to the lowest levels of the tower, but nothing higher. This is something which I imagine that Ceres would have quickly set her mind to upon arriving back then, to figuring out how to unlock the wards on the upper levels of the tower.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
So that's a scene we'll kind of part to. Any of you are free to pull yourself into the scene, but I will assume by default Ceres is there, given you are the most arcane of the group.
Yeah, I'm gonna head everything with. I'm still quite unwell.
Everyone can also assume they're fully rested, by the way.
Great.
I'm probably gonna cough a lot. So if I randomly stop in the middle of a sentence, it's because I'm dying.
Ceres has caught the common cold, unfortunately.
Caught the common cold. I've had it for ages, since last week.
Dark, also note, the lead box is in a sealed room.
That is good to know. Okay. Is it just sitting in there, or is it hidden in her room, just for knowledge?
It's sitting there. It's not obvious where it is. But it's just sitting there.
Okay.
But,
It's not on a
Ciela
plinth.
would go.
It's like sitting in a desk drawer or something.
Yeah, but if there's anything like magical things, Ciela will come to help.
Okay.
Aid.
Ceres, you find yourself likely with your court magister, wonderful old Auntie Makara, standing there in the antechamber at the base, in kind of the center point of the tower. Before you standing the huge Well, essentially, fake mana crystal that sits in the heart of this place. From what you understand, having studied the tower, this large fox crystal, essentially designed to absorb the power of actual crystals you feed into the system. Like it basically being a giant battery for the tower.
Yeah.
Though, as you've been aware, it's been running quite low. You've been able to keep it somewhat alive, but well, you know, the tower's hungry. At least if even with only a few wards running, it eats quite a lot of mana.
Oh, it's presumably been here for quite the long time as well.
Most certainly. And between yourselves and the Blood Witch's antics, the tower has been meddled with quite a bit, draining what little reserves it did have.
Yeah.
Kara kind of stands there, kind of looking over what few parchments survive, as well as the various engravings on the stonework. It's a beautiful room, these kind of spiraling columns going up, these fine elven engravings on the wall, as well as like this kind of large, almost like diorama of like what you believe is like a map of the Elven Kingdoms, though you can't really make much sense of it. Perhaps just because you don't have the context needed. Makara sighs a little. She kind of stands there, one arm tightly holding that kind of silvery white grimoire of hers. Oh, my people do know how to make these things complicated to open, don't they?
I think that's the whole point. Wouldn't want it to be easy for anyone.
It looks like each level of the tower has been sealed off with a barrier going up. Explains why we've been losing power over time anyway.
Also, than we really should have, with what ward we have running.
But it doesn't look like we can shut off these barriers from here. Understandably, it looks like the tower was locked from the top going down.
Understandably. If you're exiting, it makes sense to do so.
But over here, she gestures for you to follow around to some of the crystals elsewhere in the room.
Yep, follows.
Each of these crystals you find on the wall here represents a different part of the tower. We know these ones over here, she gestures to some that are glowing quite brightly, represent the wards in the tower's roof that protects from the cold. The ones that broadcast across the entire city.
Mm-hmm.
With that, of course, we can alter this. As we did before, we can manipulate this to keep the entire city safe. But you see these ones over here. She kind of moves over, gesturing to a small area where you see more crystals. These ones, much smaller ones, kind of embedded into some stonework. And there's only like 3 or 4 of them lit up, and then about 6 which are all completely blank at the moment.
Okay.
I believe these are the connection points to the upper towers. Well, the magic of the upper tower. Which leads me to believe there should be some kind of focus point, a nexus, some runic object, something that's supposed to link that tower's magic up to. She gestures to the large crystal core behind you. If you can figure out how to get these back on, I should be able to use that to break whatever wards protect the next level.
So head to the next level, find what can empower these crystals, then we can move on.
Essentially, yes, get it hooked back up to the rest of the tower.
Seems dangerously simple.
That's where the hard part is.
I think we're going to need all of our big hitters for this, aren't we?
I imagine so. The act of trying to force our way into the next level of the tower is going to trigger a bunch of the wards. And just judging from the diagrams in here, she kind of gestures to one here where you can see what appears to be some kind of like, you're not sure exactly what, maybe iron golem?
I can only presume golems are going to be involved, considering he was working on a giant ice dragon golem.
Many of these predate Toth, though, so I can't guarantee where.
Oh, good.
Exactly who created them.
Ancient elven wards. Hooray.
But I would expect there's going to be elementals, constructs, all manner of things. The elves, when they sealed this place, did not want anyone to get inside. I imagine our kin were afraid of the humans using it against them.
Understandable. Just means there's a good use for it once we do clear it out.
From what I can tell, the arcane forge appears to be up on the 7th level. So you've got quite a climb if you want to get there.
I think the idea is we will clear it all. Yes, I dislike, and I'm sure our king does as well, that we have a semi-hostile environment inside our own walls.
For now, it's safe, to a degree. Though once we punch our way once we start punching our way up, the tower will start coming more to life, and I wouldn't recommend leaving the tower leaving the floor unattended once we've punched it open. The Guardians might try reclaiming the rest of the tower, seeing us in here being intruders.
Naturally. Okay, I think we make our preparations. Make sure we have enough mana crystals in case we need them, and then I'll go get the others.
It's going to take me a couple of days to figure out exactly how the safest way to punch our way up, but only a couple of days.
Naturally. Good. Let us know, and I'll make sure that we're ready.
Get your preparations in place. It shouldn't take long.
No.
I guess Seal, steps into the conversation. Maybe someone listening in a little bit. Hello, Court Mage and Lady Cyril. I did happen to hear some of your talks. Would it be just, possible to identify the roots through the crystals, since they are magical by themselves? How to unlock them?
Ogara pauses for a moment and considers. Potentially, if you're skilled in divination magics at all, you might be able to use that to trace the magical thoroughfare of the tower.
I mean, I can try. I have the basic identify spell.
It could work. Yes, it definitely could work. At least give you a clue if you're in the right area or not. The entire tower is magical. You can see that just built into the stonework. She rubs her hand across some of the wards on the wall.
Yeah, but, we want to unlock these crystals, so we can focus on them.
Moreover, you may just find secondary crystals throughout the tower, likely backup sources of power in it. If you can get those redirected the power back down here, that should at least give us a bit more to fuel the city with. But that's far from a priority.
Well, let's try if I can identify these crystals and how they work. If you may, Court Mage and Lady Cyril.
What was that?
If I may try to identify them, Lady Cyril and the Court Mage.
I mean, you can. I feel like it's going to be a project.
I mean, might not be, because identify tells me how to use them, if it works. And they are magical objects or items.
Yeah, or it won't tell you how it's created.
I mean, that's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah. With use of the Identify spell, you could potentially bypass some of the magic checks required when you're in the tower,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
using that to help understand how to manipulate some of the arcane fields.
Yeah, so it would work in some extent.
Yeah, if there's a skill check, if you're struggling on or you just want to bypass entirely.
Yeah. I guess CL tries on these crystals and then
Down,
get the confirmation that it works to some extent.
down on the crystals down here, it's very interesting. It's intricate and it's almost like a very well. It's almost a bit like. It's elegant to say if nothing else. All the crystals bound together, but creating this almost kind of harmonious kind of nexus here where just by adding a little bit of your own power into each crystal, you can affect it, change it, and in so change the greater magic feeding off of it. But each of the little crystals you see kind of bound into the walls down here being basically an individual spell weaved into the tower, and there's a lot of them. Though, certainly, you do have a sense of how you could manipulate them if you had a particular task in mind. Though, not much of that will help you on the upper levels, as from what you can tell, most of them seem to be disconnected right now, the upper level.
Yeah, but I shared the information.
Makara also looks CL up and down, because Makara being herself this very almost gaunt white, very, very pale high elf, snow white hair, and always wearing, of course, her signature kind of fur white coat and heels. She kind of looks you up and down with a curious look. See, almost having this odd itching, slight burning sensation. She puts her gaze upon you from the blackening on your hand. But Makara doesn't say anything. She just appears to study you up and down, then look away, the burning immediately just fading.
Is this detect thoughts?
What's that?
Is this like a detect thought spell?
It was not detect thought spell, no.
I wonder what that. But okay.
Though it's possible she might have defined you in another way, but if she did, you don't know how.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Ciel just gives a curious look with a smile.
Anyway. Oh. And Ceres.
Yes.
You also be proud to know that it appears that the mana crystal mining has actually begun decently well.
Wonderful. I was hoping it.
It's early days, but we are getting a few useful samples out, though we lack the infrastructure to go deep.
Has that creature been of use? The one that eats them.
The Dwemer cat, yes. I personally never liked the creatures, but it's been very good at sniffing out where the stronger veins are. To it, magic is just second nature.
I'm glad that it's actually being useful. That it's sticking to our agreement.
It is. It's indeed helping out. It's sped up the process of us getting mine shafts put together. The rock around here, though, is cold and hard, unforgiving.
Perhaps in the future we'll gain deals with the dwarves. I'm sure they'll make short work of it.
I think a large bit is just simply the picks and tools that most of the people brought weren't really designed for this place.
No. That's where we always need good blacksmiths.
Well, if you want to speak with the dwarves, that's on you.
Joy. I have to dust off the old dwarvish.
She gives you almost gives you a slightly like look of elven superiority for a second. Just
I think at that look, she's like says in Elvish, "Yes, I know, but diplomacy."
Anyway, as said, 2-3 days. I should have a way to circumvent the first ward.
2-3 days. Good. So we'll give the room one last look around before turning to leave.
You're familiar with the antechamber regardless, and you can come up here frequently.
I think it's just one of those like I look around it briefly, as if I could possibly see something, but always know that there's nothing more to see.
You do also, of course, know at the back of the antechamber there's like a locked room back there where the remnants of the golem is stored in there.
Yeah. I imagine Ceres has gone through that room, top to, like ceiling to floor, numerous times.
I imagine whenever Ceres has time, she's not doing anything else. She probably just continues scouring the tower's old inscriptions and ruins all over the place.
Without a doubt, I'm sure.
Some of them are just historic texts, but that still probably interests Ceres.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure Charlotte's probably found in here times as well.
She is found in here very frequently when you don't need her services.
Yeah.
Attempting to decipher some of the older Elven. Some of it is pretty old.
Oh, I love Charlotte as my apprentice. She's great.
He is great. She's pretty smart.
So smart.
She's also been fairly useful when it comes to deciphering some of the wards, abjuration being her specialty now. She's shown definitely a talent.
She's got a +3 in intelligence. She's pretty smart. Pretty darn smart. And she's very charismatic. Okay. I think they're like leveling up shortly, aren't they? Our baby apprentices.
Perhaps.
Sorry to step away for a second.
No worries.
Did you say anything else? Was anything said that needed my attention immediately?
No.
No, we're just excited about our apprentices' futures.
Yeah.
Mm.
Their leveling possibility. How far they're coming along.
Over the next couple of days, of course, as you return to Sorkai, all of your characters are called upon for basically maintenance and basic functions. Sarah's having a number of small diplomatic letters she's forced to write.
Mm-hmm.
Vickers needing to touch base with his spy network.
Indeed.
Torin and CL needing to settle into the mounds of paperwork that no one has been doing for their roles because no one's been there.
No, maintenance is important.
In Torin's case, it's probably a backlog of minor court cases from peasants, as well as perhaps needing to whip a little bit of discipline into some of the guards.
No, yeah, he'll get to that right away.
And in Amnes's case, just many individuals coming to Amnes for his opinion. Amnes like needing to hold court for some of the minor nobles who wish to either curry favor with him or otherwise, simply go through the standard rituals of nobility.
Sure.
It's part of being a ruler. You have business that needs attending to.
Indeed.
Yes. I need to, nod and make noises at people.
And occasionally sign off on documents when it needs your name on it.
Yeah.
As it stands, though, your city is doing fairly well. It's still early days, of course. This growing city out of nothing is difficult. But it's not doing badly. Your people still seem to be in a great sense of morale. Apparently, Amanus, having really driven the city into a fervor before he left.
All right, that's very good.
And Amanus also met with a surprising number of just they're very minor, but minor foreign dignitaries wanting to simply make their presence known to Amanus.
Sure.
It appears word of your city it's begun to spread much faster than you anticipated.
That's nice.
All right.
Is there any particularly noteworthy, like is someone from a very far away place or from some place that we actually have tried to get to?
Most of them have been places in the more northern regions of the territory. A couple of people from more like you got one or two minor traveling nobles from slightly more in the central part of the kingdom.
Right.
But it's clear that rumors of your new kingdom have already begun to ripple into the central kingdom now. Though, from what you can tell, the details probably aren't 100% true. Apparently, there's a lot of exaggeration going on.
I see.
Exaggeration pays us well, though.
Not entirely unexpected to be sure, though.
I think that's actually what we were aiming for, though. We were aiming to have a lot of speculation around us and a lot of false rumors, especially of us Amanas being backed by the Silver Elves. I think we wanted
because
to
a lot
press
of unknowns about us will basically give us more strength, like perceived strength, because we're
completely false strength, but
that was our plan with Sorkai here. So
now, when the Silver Elves actually finally show up, we need to have a talk with them. But
big time, yeah.
For now, no one has seen their hand. The same as no one's seen their hand for the last 150 years, basically.
Yep.
That's the thing. Even if they hear about us and hear that we've taken Sorkai, they might not do anything for a decade. Because it's elves. Everything elves do takes forever.
And out of all the elven enclaves, the Silver Elves of the North have been the slowest traditionally.
Yeah, so I can only imagine that they'll hear about Sorkai, and then maybe we'll see them in a decade.
Yeah. So they're like, maybe we should go. Okay, 1,000 years later.
It's it's elves. They don't need to do things like quickly because the world's gonna be there for them in a year's time, and a year's time is just like a month. No, it's like a week even. It's nothing to them, so they can pay their way in just taking their time. Deliberating.
Though while Amanus is holding court, perhaps with Torin in the room, perhaps just discussing ways, changing the guard forces slightly to try and optimize security. One of the guardsmen from the front gate is actually ends up kind of entering into court, interrupting the proceedings. Taking a knee before Amanus before he says anything. My liege.
Mm-hmm.
One of your court has requested your presence down at the new mines. Yeah, the gnome lady.
Oh, right. Yes. Oh well, let's go and meet the crazy inventor.
Did she blow up the mines? Is that what she did?
Wants, probably.
All right.
She also requested to speak to the new warden as well.
Torin's gonna love her.
Mine. Well, guess Amaras and Torin will head to the mines.
Prepare yourself.
Yo.
Oh boy, it's been a while since I had to voice her.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, it's so great.
Well, I don't have her written. Where is she in my god?
She
Tor-
blew up her own file.
Honestly, my index is just. Oof.
You haven't updated it in a while. Torin, of course, you haven't had much time to settle in so far, nor did you know about sub-gnomish inventor before now.
Yeah, he'd probably be fairly surprised as someone comes to fetch him. As soon as he and Amanus are heading down there, he'd like look over and basically say, Amanus, would you mind filling me in on this character?
Amanus frowns and says, she is some sort of half-crazed inventor. She delights in explosions and mechanical contraptions. She has been useful to us in the past, but she has a tendency to, well, blow things up.
Tendency.
He nods. Yes.
I'm keen to hear what worth she has that offsets that particular characteristic.
Well, we are trying to break into a mountain filled with mana crystals. A few explosions are probably helpful along the way. I hear that is how the dwarves do it.
I'm sure they do it with plenty of care and precision, however.
He snorts. Well, she survives herself, so I believe she has some sort of skill and knowledge in what she does. She has also supplied us with some interesting inventions for the war effort that we had a while ago. And so far, she has proved herself useful, if, as I said, a bit unstable. So, keeping her in line with things that she can explode, while also keeping her busy and far away from most other people, seems to be the best idea.
Everyone can clearly see that Torin would like to say more things, voice his opinion, but chooses not to.
Mm-hmm.
But also chooses to clearly make it apparent that he chooses not to.
That's fine.
Silence that speaks volumes.
Oh, let's go and meet the crazed inventor.
Heading down to the mine, they certainly have made some progress from before where it was simply clusters of crystals in a wall with slight goblin ruins nearby. Now there is actually the formation of an actual kind of mining camp here. It's nothing grand at the moment, but there is some basic living quarters, the start of a basic bar, which, perhaps unsurprisingly, the miners decided to get somewhere to drink as one of their earliest constructions. As well as the basic framing of the mine's entranceway, as well as what appears to be some basic tunnels dug into the rockwork, as well as what appears to be a small inspection area inside a small inspection building where it appears the rocks are being sifted through, trying to extract the higher quality crystals from them. Though, as you can also clearly tell by a small infirmary area, it's not been entirely smooth sailing. That's not unsurprising. As you are all aware, mana crystal mining is never the safest mining. The crystal's just toxic nature alone makes them difficult to handle. Regardless, though, as you arrive, you are quickly directed by some of the staff there to gnome in question. Persephone the Fantabulous, which give you a description for you, sheep. What you see before you is a gnome, 3.5, slightly more than 3.5 feet tall, perhaps, in this leather armor with a number of small burn marks. This very fancy, kind of fine red cloak over her, and hair which can only really be described as a tangled bouquet or fruit basket. She certainly sets an interesting image as she's there. Currently with a pair of goggles on as she is currently mixing some chemicals inside one of the many mining tents. though she pauses as she hears footsteps peering over, before a smile crossing her face, her leaving the chemicals just bubbling and smoking behind her as she heads over to you, raising her goggles. She has some slight soot on her cheeks, where clearly she's been near an explosion recently, but she looks unharmed. And there's my favorite patron. It's been such a long time, my liege. How are you doing?
Amanas nods and says, "Quite busy, actually. I am told you had something for me and the new warden." He slightly indicates Thorin with a hand gesture.
You must be the dragonborn I've heard so much about in the last 2 days. It's such a pleasure to know who will be keeping all of us safe. I must say, your scales are quite shiny. Do you do anything to keep them that way?
I think you should put your goggles back on. My scales have not been shiny since my youth.
You don't give yourself enough credit. Regardless, you weren't here for pleasantries. So we've been running across a few issues in the local mountainside. There's a lot of creatures up here who seem annoyingly adapted to the cold. I guess it makes sense given we're literally in the middle of a frozen tundra. But it did give me an idea, though. Many of these beasts are quite large, quite ferocious. Some of them clearly being creatures raised by the giants that have somehow gotten loose and started rampaging through the hillside. Unhelpful. Not been the biggest problem, but still dangerous. Moreover, the mountain itself has been quite the... I'll be honest. Having people mine through permafrost, not the easiest. That's when it came to me, an idea. I assume everyone here is familiar with alchemist fire.
Amanas nods.
Pretend that I'm not.
Okay. Alchemist fire is a very common and relatively inexpensive alchemical substance, the recipe which has been long known for generations and generations. This basically a basic building block of any alchemist's true arsenal. Now, by itself, it's not particularly too strong. It will leave a burn mark, it will leave some injuries, but sorry, ignore the hunting dogs. They're quite happy. But what I had thought of is, if we're having so much issue with permafrost, and we have so much issue with these frost-adapted creatures, but you know, if I was able to infuse into weapons armaments the properties of this, or add in channels where alchemist fire could be dispensed upon impact, it would be quite the effective blow at dealing with both of the icy problems, to be honest.
It is a worthwhile idea to try to exploit the weaknesses of whatever problem you face, be it beast or ground. What are you getting at?
I think I found a way that I might be able to make a more potent version of the alchemist fire, great for the soldiers. I've also found ways I think I could probably incorporate it into the basic toolworks the miners use. The problem is both of these are... they're both quite expensive to do, and to be honest, I've only got so much time in the day.
That is an easy question then. Above all, what a soldier values is reliability. I mean no offense, but what I've heard about you and your work, that is not a priority for you. Whereas this experimental sort of work that may or may not work seems to be how this mine already operates. If you want to focus on something, I would suggest you use your ideas for this mine, not for the soldiers.
She quirks an interested eyebrow and then looks towards Avanos as well.
Amanas seems a bit skeptical. He can't really realize what a alchemist fire infused mine pick would be.
She kind of rocks back and forth on her heels as she looks towards you though.
He says, "Well, soldiers do value reliability. Then again, the mining must proceed, and if this invention can speed up the mining process, it might be worth looking into on that front at least.
I do believe it should be able to help out quite a bit with the mining, to be honest. And if nothing else, it's also going to stop the miners' hands freezing onto the pickaxes. You know, that's actually anything that can happen.
He nods slightly and says, "Well, in that case, if you could submit a project detail to the council, we can take a closer look at it."
I'll have it prepared for the next meeting.
He nods and says, "Good, good." He still seems concerned with the thought of alchemical fire mine picks, but maybe it works. Unconventional methods has paid off well in the past. They might do so again.
Now while you're here, I'm sure. Can I ask you about some of these? She's getting a bit nerd out a little bit, talking about some of the other things going on with the mine.
Yeah, Amenas will sort of zone out for a minute and a half. And if he doesn't identify anything that needs his attention, he'll just turn and walk away back towards the city.
She may not entirely notice and may just continue extolling the virtues of her projects while you.
Yeah, no, he'll put he'll swing himself up on the saddle again on glory, and then we'll ride off towards the city.
I assume Torin will take a leave as well.
Yeah, he's not interested in how a mine operates. That's not what he does. He knows what he does.
All you needed to know was how defensive is mine. Terrible at the moment.
He will try to ask the odd question in between her breaths, basically about these beasts and such, so he can get a better description.
She pauses for a moment. A bit surprised that you interrupted her, but she will go ahead and actually explain some of the issues going on that we've discovered. It appears that I'm just stepping out of character for talking to her because honestly I can't keep that up all day. She talks way too fast and is way too high energy. But it appears that there have been a number of frost-infused creatures, notably what appears to be a couple of essentially a couple of megafauna of what you can consider normal beasts. In particular, that looks like they've been raised by the giants. In particular, they have spotted a giant. What can basically only be described as a giant ice-covered boar, in particular, who's been causing a lot of issues in the mountainside. Alongside that of a pack of winter wolves.
All right.
They haven't. Most of the time, they've only caused issues on the outskirts, but still, it understandably has the miners frightened.
Well, he'll keep that in mind and see if he can do something about that eventually.
Yeah, for now it's not a priority, but she brought it up.
And then Torin will leave too. I don't know if he took a horse or anything. He might just walk back.
He was able to take a horse if he wanted, but he could also just march back.
Nah, horses are not a thing for him.
There's a basic road you can march back.
Torin doesn't horse.
There's one thing about Torin, and that is not horse.
Not horse, not boat. It's feet or nothing.
Very well,
So
then.
you want me to horse? How dare you?
But I'll make a note down then that you have shown interest in the alchemical mining techniques.
Yes. I don't think alchemical soldier techniques is where we are at the moment.
Yeah, imagine giving your soldiers a sword that has like a chance to just blow up. Nobody would want to pick up their swords anymore because they might blow up.
I mean, you just have to make a throwing weapon at that point.
Exactly, just make them into javelins, right? Throw them in and explode. It's easy.
Grenadier legions, right?
Grenadier legions, yeah. Javelin grenadiers.
Or like just mortar. Can we like invent mortars? That'd be pretty sweet.
Oh, with ballista.
We had a huge arcane cannon, didn't we? Or
Mm.
arcane ballista, I should say.
And, have dwarves do it. It'll be like Warcraft 3.
Hmm.
You had an arcane enchanted ballista thanks to Auntie Makara, but she can only that took a high level mage maintaining that. You need something more
Yeah.
permanent.
Persephone did like make the, I guess, framework for it.
At that point, you can like invest crossbows and have like a dynamite arrows, kind of, with explosive. Great.
Moreover, there's a few other minor things to go over here. Let's see. Ceres,
Yeah.
Apprentice does want to briefly speak with you as well, if you have the time for her.
Oh, Ceres always has time for Charlotte.
She's actually, funny enough, currently studying the ruins of the tower.
Wonderful.
Some of the more abandoned wings that you've not had chance to go over.
Sure.
As you head inside, and you see like part of it like roped off, like clearly telling the guards like, nope, no stepping past this rope. And it appears Charlotte is basically turned into a small archaeology site.
Nice.
As you go inside, and you see her kind of these fine, these kind of very fine, clearly like noble gloves, but she's clearly using them to try and like protect the artifacts. Fine
Sure.
white silk. And she has a number of what appear to be, at least at a distance as you approach, old religious idols for the elves.
Okay. Old religious symbols, sure.
Oh, you're here. Sorry for interrupting you. I know you're busy with. I saw the queue of diplomats outside your door.
Ceres waves her hand as she like walks over and says, I will take the opportunity to confuse them all and walk away without explanation. What can I do for you?
I was wondering if you'd seen any pieces like some of these. There's a lot of old. I mean, I don't know how much you know about the Ice Elven faiths, but
Less than I would like, but more than any human.
she nods.
It's been a while since I heard any stories from my mother, but what is it?
There's some really interesting. There's some very interesting pieces in here I found. I don't fully understand them, but some of them seem to be. Some of them confuse me a little bit.
Hmm?
If you come over here, there's this mural. It's mostly destroyed, but there's some odd similarities with it. Charlotte kind of brings you over, carefully moving past a drape that she put over it.
Okay.
What it seems to depict is this large kind of eclipsed moon up in the sky. Oh, sorry, the eclipsed sun. Yeah, it's a lunar eclipse. Solar eclipse. Solar eclipse. There you go. But from it branching off in these kind of fine elven kind of almost ripples, which you think are fairly designed to like represent like the kind of the ripples of magic.
Mm-hmm.
Out into a number of smaller elven gods.
Sure.
Though much of it is damaged and destroyed. It's kind of odd, but I was kind of looking at this, and this looks oddly similar to the same like manuscripts which the Radiant Church holds, but like they're reversed.
Wouldn't entirely surprise me. you'll find a lot of similarities in a lot of religions.
I suppose. Neil, with of course the Radiant Church, it was of course, we have different aspects all diverging from the Allmaker, but this is similar, but it's as if some kind of central god or goddess broke apart and from those broken pieces create separate gods here.
Okay.
I recognize some of them. I don't remember the name of it, but there's this one here. She kind of points, which Ceres does recognize the symbol of. You've briefly discussed this one in the past as one of as being one of the gods of like knowledge and learning and assassination.
Oh, that's the one that's noted on the Cave of Longing, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes, Ranthala. What I've got written down.
Ranthala? Huh. There's actually a lot of symbols to her all over this place. Especially on the 5th floor of the tower.
Curious.
Well, I had not been into the 5th floor, obviously, but like all the things that seem to refer to the 5th floor seem to have a symbol on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 5th floor might be like a study place. Maybe like a place for apprentices.
Would make sense. This tower existed long before Toth took over, and would be a good place to train apprentices. Certainly why you have free reign.
You're not really one for the gods, though, are you?
Not particularly. They exist, they have power, but I'm not beholden to them.
But they created everything.
Sure. But I can create something, and I don't want whoever to use it to be beholden to me. I don't see why the gods would be so frivolously possessive over their creations. They created everything to be used. I think they would want us to be groveling over them for it. We pay our respects, naturally. They are great powers of the cosmos, but who cares otherwise? People use religion to gain power. That's not the reason for the gods, is it?
You're not just referring to the clergy who serve them, are you?
No. For one, I know that. Take Amanas. Yes, he is directly linked to some divinity. Yes, he literally has the blood of angels in him. But he is no less a man. The people of the Radiant Kingdom worship his bloodline as if they were minor deities. I don't. They die. They live. They bleed. I've seen generations. Seen two. I suppose if you count Amanas, I've seen 3 kings fall. They are very much mortal and very much not.
I don't think he'd appreciate that wording.
Possibly not, but he can't argue. He would know I speak truth. I respect him regardless. I have my blood oaths to him.
You see her look very nervously at the doorway behind, just double checking Amanas hasn't suddenly walked in.
Suddenly appears. I heard something. His grandfather was a great man. And for that, I have respect for Amanas himself, especially more now these days as he's grown into a true leader. But that didn't come from divinity. That didn't come from a god. That came from him. That came from his strength of heart. I think the real power in people is not gifted by legacy, like my blood, or divinely given, like the clergy would have us believe the kings and queens have. No, real power comes from yourself, your own efforts.
Philip pauses, nods a little bit. She kind of stares at the mural a little bit.
Then, of course, every god has a lesson with them. All of their stories, every single one of them. You will find a lesson. And one thing that I crave more than anything else in this world is knowledge. So I pay my respects, for they all provide the gift of knowledge. But knowledge above all else. That's what matters.
She nods strongly. Yeah. That's why we study, right?
That's why we study.
Become knowledgeable.
Exactly. And we can thank the gods like Ranthala for providing the knowledges, providing the mysteries that let us uncover this knowledge. We can thank them for that. They provided it. They are the divine beings that created it. But it was ours to find. It was ours to discover.
Charlotte nods and proceeds, if you allow her, to show you some of the other things that she's found, though she definitely appears to be definitely seems to have made a bit of an impression on her, as she seems to be looking at everything a little bit more analytically than she did before.
Good.
Clearly rather impressionable to your opinions.
Yeah, and I think Ceres is is acutely aware that Charlotte is impressionable to Ceres. I think if it was anyone else who had asked that question, she probably would have hand waved it, because she doesn't typically talk about religion, because her views are quite unorthodox. But when it comes to Charlotte, Ceres wants her to know exactly how she thinks.
Very well then. Moreover, Sarah just gets to have an interesting look around some old elven religious idols and old murals.
Ceres loves doing that. Probably spends a little bit too long there. Maybe annoying
like a
the
bit-
diplomat.
You basically got the remnants here of a museum. Actually, if you spent the investure on it, you could probably turn it into a museum for people if you wanted to.
Maybe in the future.
Bit expensive, but on the other hand, more knowledge for the realm, right?
And revenue. To
That's the alternative.
entry
Is yes, it's the entry fees.
Pay to fuel the arcane forge.
Yeah. What do you value? Educating the masses or the money from the masses?
The magic from the masses. Drain them all.
Are you planning to turn people into crystal now?
No. Nothing so dramatic.
Just saying that technically be a form of blood magic at that point.
Oh, we have possible blood mage in the prison.
This is a good point. as both Vicus and Torin are both made aware that the Blood Elf prisoner has arrived and is now in your dungeon.
Right.
Both of you being informed, Vicus by his own spies, and, well, it is Torin's guards technically are the ones, now staffing the prison.
Yeah.
They have, to your report so far, been cooperative. They've not fought back. They've basically been shackled the entire way, but they've not tried fighting back. They've not tried running.
Okay.
No one's managed to talk to them so far, but they've cooperated at least.
Who would be most likely to get him to talk?
You also be aware, just from your own context, more from your thinker on the town, because
Yes.
even the rumors that Blood Elf has been spotted in the area seem to have got some of the people riled up.
Yeah, we were aware of that. So we need to deal with this quickly if we're gonna deal with this. We can't let this stew. So.
I mean, perhaps it's something for Ceres and Vicus to deal with.
Yeah, I think so. Sarah's being the diplomatic one, and Vicus is there to state the facts plainly, so to speak.
Yeah.
Did Zed ever tell anyone where? Oh, what's her name? Lorenza.
Lorenza?
Yeah, where she was buried.
Yes.
Okay.
It's in the in his notebook. It's like outside the the city, a little bit in the woods.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we know that at least. Yeah. Perhaps we should do that now.
Let's. I suppose we meet up and then head to the dungeon.
Indeed. Actually, in fact, Vicus would probably be the one to. Where would Ceres be at this point? You're probably studying doing something, diplomatic stuff or
Probably
whatever.
diplomatic stuff, yeah.
Vicus will poke his head in and gleefully give you an excuse to leave as a break.
I imagine she's talking to some like a haughty minor noble, and then she sees.
But
Vicus.
Mr. Lanio, you do see that a formal arrangement between my house and His Majesty's could result in great.
And then Vicus just kind of strides in the door, like full gear on.
And Ceres like stands up and says, just leave a letter for our lord to probably decline, and see yourself out." As she
But I came all this way to see you in person.
Vicus will give him
such
a
a pleasure. It was such a pleasure for yourself, wasn't it? And
why I never.
I think maybe just to prove the point, as she reaches Vicus, she'll like grab his arm and then plunge them into darkness.
Oh, great!
Like pulls him along until they get round the corner and drop it.
As usual, the guards are perturbed, but only mildly perturbed, seeing a ball of darkness rolling around.
In fact, Vicus will use that momentary distraction to do a handoff he wanted to do later on, but he'll do it now. He has siphoned the best of the best crystals when he came back, and has given Ceres, or slipped her in her hands, a bag of the curated ones that he would know that she would love the best.
Beautiful.
Actually, some of these are quite beautiful for Ceres in particular. Ooh, some of these would be able to spot fourth tier magic.
Indeed.
Oh, that'll burn, but it'll be good.
He's quite familiar with the blight, and so he knows.
Also getting quite chunky at this point as you start getting up to spell levels.
Yeah, it's been a bit harder and harder to sneak them out, but he's been practicing.
They also have this much more rich color now. You know very much how how some gemstones, as they get more expensive, they start getting like more like vibrant colors to them.
Yeah.
A better clarity to them. You kind of get the similar thing with mana crystals.
Vickers just had to upgrade his crusher to a higher metal grade because it just isn't cutting it.
You're needing such a bigger dose now.
Yeah.
Keep that high going.
It's in my blood.
Oh, I've got a slight. I just had a Foundry error appear. I'm going to quickly restart Foundry, but we'll keep role playing.
Sure. Yes, let us abscond to the dungeons, I guess.
Do you inform anyone else of your plans, or do you just head straight down there? Just so I know.
No, I think we can deal with this ourselves.
I think so. Yeah, I've got a baby with me,
Uh,
so just bear with any noise.
Yeah. The less people know, the better, because inevitably someone will tell someone else, blah blah blah. So
Okay, that was backup.
we'll deal with this ourselves. And if something goes wrong, it's gonna be obvious. So
Yeah, if you just refresh your browser, you should come back in.
all right. Administrator access. I don't think that's.
I think
Oh.
there's the auth. I think maybe.
Yeah, I
if you-
need to take off the auth. There we go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If it's
take
putting you
off
some
the
weird
auth.
link, yeah, just go back to the raw IP.
We're good.
I just had-
Sorry, I wasn't trying to log in or anything.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's password. It'll block you.
Stop hacking the mainframe, Valky.
Getting that mechanical advantage.
Technically speaking, if you knew the password, you could actually run a second campaign while I'm playing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, absolutely would not do that. Even I wouldn't even attempt it just in case.
Because of course, since I don't have a second blood bond, you'd be running one of my other group's campaigns.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. I literally had Renard popped into the room. I think Mel needed to do something, and then he just started walking recently. So he just toddled over to me, making loud
great.
noises. Hilarious. All right, let's go talk to a blood elf.
Yes.
I suppose we make our way down.
We do.
You do. So far, the dungeons have been, for better or less, basically abandoned. You haven't had much in the way of prisoners to deal with.
I mean, that's good.
Actually, while we're at it, let me.
Like, for better or worse, prisoners have not been an issue.
Indeed. Let's activate this, because we probably want to talk about stuff without saying it out loud. So.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to translate, right? I don't think you know Elvish.
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I know Elvish. Yeah, I know Elvish, Draconic, and Undercommon actually.
Oh, wonderful.
Pretty well traveled.
Just don't know the king's language. That's it.
I mean, look, that's his job.
The old stone walls of this place. The prison's built into the side of the mountain. While there are occasional windows to the outside, there is no. To be honest, escaping this would be an absolute pain. It's built into the side of the mountainside, as is many of the old bunk. It's sort of like the barracks built to the side of the mountain, sort of guys attached to. Makes a very good defensive location. Though perhaps a rarer thing for elven architecture, but the needs be it. As you come down here, there is a slight dripping noise. There's a little bit of a water leak, apparently, but otherwise it's fine enough. Lanterns are lit. And you see a guard sitting rather boredly outside one of the prison cells.
You know, it's got to be boring sometimes.
Oh.
There are very few other prisoners down here. There might be a petty street thief in one of these cells, but that's about it.
Is that a fucking magic circle in the corner? I'm trying to do some ritual in here, lady? Boy? I don't know where you are.
You Asteris kind of heads up there, the guard, looking rather bored for a moment as he looks up at you, though, but kind of peaks an interest when he realizes exactly who's in front of him. As he kind of stands to his feet and gives a salute.
As Ceres will say, you can go get something to eat or something hot to drink.
Do you not wish an escort inside, my lady?
That will be quite fine.
I think I could kill us all with a blink of an eye.
I am sure you could. Just protocol states I have to offer.
Okay.
Wow,
The guard
sassy.
is clearly cautious of you. The story around the guards is well known that you can blow everyone up. They have witnessed your fireballs before.
Oh yeah,
Very famous.
they're well known.
Every taco night.
The guard, at your permission, will take his leave to go on a quick lunch break.
He hasn't left his keys behind him there, has he?
He left the keys to this cell behind for you.
Yeah, Vickers is gonna.
The cell itself is clearly locked because obviously you don't leave the cell unlocked.
Indeed, let's unlock the cell.
Ceres, they are looking at you right now. You can see them through the cell bars and clearly see you as sitting up on the wooden cot is what does appear to be a not fully of age blood elf. Though you do just kind of knowing the blood elves basics, Ceres is still fairly sure they might be older than Vickers still.
They're probably like I presume between like 50 and 80.
You know, they're older than most humans you've got here.
Yeah. I think Ceres studies her as she waits for Vickers to unlock the door, because apparently Ceres is like uncommonly tall and towers over Vickers.
Yeah, Vickers is a little bit of short stature, so.
Ceres is almost as tall as Tauren, apparently.
But you decide to unlock the cell.
Yes, Vickers is keeping an eye for any sudden movements here.
Cell's unlocked.
Well, step back a bit and let Lady Ceres go first.
So step in.
Door is still locked, still closed. You have to actually open it.
Oh, right, sorry.
Open sesame. I'm too far away to open it. I know. I can't. Oh,
There you
there
go. The module for that must be acting up. It's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, the door will close behind.
As you enter inside, this cell is nowhere near as lit. It doesn't really receive any of the torchlight from outside. There is a little bit of light shining in through a kind of very small barred window to the outside, which is providing what light does come into here. But the room is always a little bit whitewashed as a result of the light. It's dusty and grimy and covered in cobwebs.
Okay.
But the adolescent blood elf seems to be sitting there, just kind of staring at you come in, not really making any moves, just sitting on the edge of the cot.
I think
The door will lock behind.
On the ground, as Ceres did notice, there does appear to be what looks like the start of a magic circle, though it appears to be just like it's purely made out of dust and it keeps getting blown away.
Yeah, and I imagine.
But essentially, it looks like they've like seen how dusty the floor is and started like basically just running their finger through the dust to create a circle.
Yeah, I think Ceres will like wander over
Though you're fairly well enough with magic circles that you couldn't actually you couldn't actually create a spell in just dust. Not with like being moved through the air like this.
It needs to be something like a bit stronger than that. But
you could do it in like salt, but dust just gets blown away too easily.
I think Ceres might like look over it, see if there's anything that she can quickly identify.
You can make me an Arcana check if you wish. As Ceres looks over the circle, it doesn't appear to be anything. Well, honestly, to Ceres, it doesn't look like it's anything at all. It looks, if nothing else, almost more like practice, from what you can tell. It looks like someone going through the motions of various of like the basic elements of a magic circle, but it lacks any actual like. There's no real like center point to the spell. There is no actual spell attached to the circle. Simply the base of a magic circle.
So potentially, what Ceres had like Charlotte practicing for any magic circles.
The kind of thing you might have an apprentice practice dozens of times just so they get used to drawing like the basic templates.
The base, yeah. Okay, like the basic structure of it. That makes sense.
Yeah, and then of course, as experience you've made, you then fill in the necessary components based on the spell.
How old would Vickers like put this blood elf at?
It's difficult. Physically, if they were human, they would look like they're 13.
Right.
They're very clearly much older than that, though. They're kind of just sitting there staring back and forth.
I think Ceres will, after she's looked over it, will turn around but not get closer and say in Elvish, I presume you speak the tongue?
There's a slight pause for a moment, and they do reply back, though it does perhaps catch even Ceres a little bit off guard, as the dialect is perhaps not what you're used to. It's very accented in a way that you don't really hear from the High Elves. It's definitely a blood elf,
It's like
dialect.
hearing a hillbilly.
Perhaps don't tell them that. But, just like the Wood Elves, there is slight changes in the language structure, but it's still recognizable. It just might take you a second to fully process.
Yeah.
It might be hard for Vickers, who's not a native speaker, but it's different.
Yeah, it's difficult for a learned speaker rather than a native, right?
Yeah,
But,
he actually has to
he
think
catches
about what
some
she
of it.
says. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a conscious effort instead of the.
Yeah.
Like a natural.
You had miracles. You're fully aware, just like in the UK. You travel outside the UK, you'll start hearing slang you've never heard before.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just go to the Black Country. You'll not understand any of them. I mean, there's a whole thing in Hot Fuzz, right?
Yep.
You are able to move your tokens down there as cameras if you want to move up. Just have a look around, but the Blood Elf kind of pauses for a bit. Clear they did take recognition what you said. Of course. Though you speak funny. Or perhaps just I've never spoken to kind of quirks his head.
I've spoken to a silver elf, a high elf. That's fine.
No, you're not. You got the Fae on you.
Ceres nods and says, "I am an Eladrin. There's the blood of the Fae in me."
I've not seen an Eladrin in. I don't think I've ever seen one.
We're rare, very rare, even among the high elves, which is the most common of the elven people to have them.
Kind of shoots a perhaps weary glare at Vickers.
As he looks, Vickers will respond in Elvish and say, "Not to worry, I'm just here for all of our safety."
Glares. Looks back to Ceres, clearly not trusting Vickers at all.
I mean, of course.
Ceres gives like a half smile and says, "I presume you came because Lorenza expected you to come?"
I got a message from her. She said it was her final hour.
Ceres pulls out the stone, the sending stone that she has, that she had from Lorenza, and says, "Was it this?"
There's a visual reaction on their expression for a moment. They kind of bite their lip. Yes. Then my one got taken by the gods.
Ceres nods and says, "They understandably do not wish for you to have easy communication with the outside world, as I'm sure you can understand."
I have done nothing wrong here.
No, indeed you have not, and we were expecting not exactly you, but another blood elf to come.
He's clearly looking you up and down rather cautiously.
So, did you have instructions, plans after her final hour, if she was successful?
If she was successful? I don't know what she was doing up here, I'm afraid.
Oh,
I was simply sent to try and bring her body back for burial.
Cyrus nods.
Return her to the blood trees.
It would be quite a trek to take her body all the way there, would it not?
Especially in wartime.
Especially in wartime where your race are being actively hunted.
He kind of grips the edge of the cot slightly. It's clear just the topic's making him a little tense.
Not a just war. You believe me when we say that this court does not particularly agree with the war.
Even if yours don't, a dozen others do.
Cyrus nods. Says,
Why do you help them?
I don't help them. We don't. In fact, we are in the midst of fighting against them soon. Not directly. But we are trying to be independent from the royal throne, even if our liege is the previous king.
He looks very confused for a moment.
Cyrus smiles and says, I can understand. Our lord, our king, was the previous king. He was deposed, and we now seek to reclaim his throne. His sister is the one that has started this ill-begotten crusade against your kin. All-driven
Foolish
artist.
crusade at that.
Indeed.
Slaughter. Just slaughter.
One that we do not agree with. We find it abhorrent, and we wish we could do something, but we are far, as I'm sure you know, having travelled so far.
It's taken months to get up here.
We have buried Lorenza in the forest, in the trees. We do not know of your kin's rituals, but we did our best. If you wish, we would be okay with you doing some rites here, rather than you taking such a long trek back with the body through dangerous lands.
He shakes his head. Custom states that they had to be buried back on the blood tree they were sanctioned.
There is no other way.
Kind of glares at Vickers a little bit. We each come from the earth. We each give our blood to the earth. And so to the earth we shall return.
And it must be the same.
But to return to the tree which we came means we can pass down our wisdom to the next. And rejoin with all the others who have fallen. Kind of gripping the edge of the cot really hard at the moment. Clearly something's annoyed him on this topic, though not from you guys.
Might I ask, were you tasked to do this, or are you doing this of your own accord?
choosing to do it, but it's also right for me to do it.
Can I do some insight here? Like it's clearly his mixed feelings about this. I want to see what exactly is driving this. Let's see. Ah, yikes! 8.
You are unsure. It's clear they have conflicted emotions, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Is there a time limit upon this? Does she need to be in with the tree she came from within a year? A decade?
The sooner the better, but no, there's not a time. But it's much like any burial. It's better to get it done with sooner than later.
Indeed. Forgive
Let
me,
the dead rejoin their ancestors and rest.
Forgive me, I just worry about, well, letting an adolescent just wander the wilds with a corpse for months to get back to a home that might not be there. It would weigh heavily on my conscience to let you do that. Much as I do wish for you to give her the rights.
Kind of glares at you a little bit for a second. The fact that I was sent should have said something.
Why is that?
Your people, your elves, you have the luxury of time still on your side.
You are. Well, your people are anxious.
To give you understanding, to try and make you understand, he's kind of stares at Vickers. Our people have been pushed so close to no longer being a people. An elf should be able to live for 1,000 years. Kind of looks to Ceres. I think the oldest one left in my city was 200.
Actually takes Ceres aback a little bit. To Ceres' recollection, when was the last crusade against the Blood Elves?
100 years ago? Actually, probably about like 80 years ago. Ish.
And like, remind me, what's the driving force behind the crusade? Like, is it just prejudice, or is there actual like governed reason behind it?
Now, you don't know the full history behind it. Vickers certainly doesn't. But what Vickers would know, you have served the court for some time, of course.
Yes.
You do know, like, yeah, the story that needs to go as far as you're aware. Like, long ago, towards the start of the Empire's founding, the Blood Elves some massive kind of damage to it in its early years. And there's basically been just constant wars back and forth ever since. But for the last half a millennia, the Blood Elves have been losing. And not only losing a little bit, but they've been losing entire swaths of their land. Massive sections of the kind of jungle land, which their kind of homelands, and being even just torched by some of the Empire.
Right. And
So-
given what Vickers knows about their current like movements, like where exactly are they pushing out from? Like, how close is it to Freyfrost, for example? Where exactly are they?
It's basically as far from Freyfrost in the kingdom as you could get.
Right.
I will send a really quick screenshot for you.
Yes, please. It's just
Of-
the aspects of distance is kind of hard to visualize for me.
I think it's like the very south, right? It's an
Yes.
entire empire away.
Quite the opposite, like as far as you can get.
I'm going to post this screenshot I had in my thing into the group chat for you.
I'm
Yes.
sort of picturing it as if like trying to go from the UK to like Tunisia.
It would be like going probably from the UK down to. I'm trying to think of the exact kind of bit. It's quite a distance down though. You'd be talking kind of like the northern edge of like Africa.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
But
is it the red area below?
at
that?
the very top, the hash bit with the question mark is where
Yes.
you guys are set up. You guys now are. I haven't updated this screenshot in a while, so.
Yeah,
Down the bottom, the red at the bottom is the Blood Elves territory.
so
Right.
far away, man.
They used to control up to where you see the 2 gold crowns are.
Yeah.
That would have been their territory going back a few hundred years. The 2 gold crowns right above.
Yeah.
But you see they've been pushed back quite hard.
Yeah, they've been losing a lot.
Kind of tensely looks back and forth between you. Imagine if you as a human, the oldest people you had around were 20. 30 at most.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Ceres isn't even that much older than 200.
We don't have the luxury anymore of it. Others my age are being sent on the front lines already. You don't get a choice.
I think Ceres shakes her head. As despicable and as heart-wrenching as it is, there's nothing we can do. We are a world away. As much as we plan to take over the kingdom, to take control, that won't be within months. It'll be years.
No, but maybe that explains why I was sent here to do this. I might as well be an adult as far as it's concerned now. Regardless of what the rest of the elves think. We've lost the luxury of time. As much as your people can sit away in the spires for however long you want to.
And Ceres actually gives like a little smirk at that.
I don't even know why you're down here, given I thought your people cut off ties.
I am as silver elf as you are. Perhaps slightly more with the blood, but I've never lived there. I have lived among the humans.
And our concern is not because we are so lofty in our laziness that we do not understand. I, as a human, do. I have not lived a life of luxury. But if we send you back with no help, with a body in tow, they would lose another.
They would lose another and the knowledge that
We're not preventing you out of reluctance or spite or whatever nonsense. We see the value. We see and understand. And we don't wish you to lose it.
I think our king would echo our thoughts and belief that if we could take in your people, even just clandestinely, I think we would, to protect the dying race from the atrocities of the Radiant Kingdom. And willingly letting you go to what would quite certainly be your death would be immoral. Can you understand this? We wish to
I
give you
understand.
the gift of time.
I understand your concern, but what, you plan just to keep me here then, prisoner?
Sarah shakes her head, looks to Vicus, and then I think switches to the mental connection.
Yeah.
Like, on one hand, we can't keep her, really, against her will. That is sort of pointless. She's a prisoner just because she's a blood elf. And we expected one to come and maybe cause havoc.
Yeah.
But if all that she wants to do is just take the corpse of another blood elf away, there's no reason to keep her other than to try and keep her safe. But then if she doesn't want to be kept safe,
Then we just have to try our best to assist. I mean,
yeah.
If this is an inevitable case, we have to help. If not only for the sake of preserving the life of a blood elf, of a human being, but also, I mean, in Vicus's eyes, setting aside morality and feelings here, the blood elves themselves, this is coming back with this knowledge would be important for them. And the fact that we help them. I mean, it's a complicated situation, right? But at the very least, giving them an understanding of our existence may give them some sort of hope.
Okay. So in the in the presence of taking too much time on the point,
yeah.
Jonas, would Amenas be amiable to blood elf refugees?
I don't think so.
No.
No, I think Amenas views the blood elves as sworn enemies of the Empire that should be destroyed at all costs.
Okay.
This is the same as your ancestors have done for the last.
Yes,
Yeah.
they invaded, and
Oh.
they will most certainly pay that price to the bitter end.
Because the question is, what is the price?
Well,
Has the price been paid already?
Because right now it looks like the price your sister is going for is true extinction.
Yeah.
I mean, he honestly couldn't really care less. This little brat is like, oh, we can only be 200 years, and he's like, bitch, this is the tiniest violin in the world, you know. Like,
No, I think it's more that
care.
they're saying they're
don't-
down to their adolescence. All of their
I don't-
adults are dead.
Yeah, I don't think he would care. Honestly, there needs to be a very strong case why he would. These are ancestral enemies
Yeah.
to his kingdom, and they attacked, and they became aware that that was a very bad idea to do so. And I mean, looking at his oath of conquest, he one of the tenets is to snuff out the flame of hope, to utterly crush all opposition until they bend the knee.
Right.
And that is what he would do to his enemies.
Sure, but the question is, an adolescent who has never been born in the
into the conflict.
Yeah, this kid has never been the instigator. This kid has been the victim. So now that they're down to these generation of people who have only known subjugation. Where, like,
I guess an argument of does the son inherit the sin of the father?
Yeah.
Sort of thing that he will be more amenable to that. I think.
I think that's what we're
Um,
aiming at, is because
I mean,
totally.
Vicus would definitely spin it as what the Empire is doing now is that Amonis's fault once he ensconced the throne. Like,
It's
this is the kingdom you will inherit, and it has done things that you don't agree with, but they're now yours.
It's
So-
killing innocents for the sake of killing them. It's genocide in effect.
It's again like if it is an enemy of the empire that has attacked
Yeah, but
and
these
killed thousands of people, he would expend
sure.
a lot of resources to destroy them, and he would see that as justice.
We're getting again that initial attack they made was thousands of years ago. Was like
Yeah.
1,000 years ago.
So,
Yeah, so, like-
everyone alive now is just the sons of the fathers that are now dead. They've paid their
Sons or the grandsons or the great grandsons.
yeah, they've
Yeah.
paid their iron price, and now it's the children that
So
never fought in the war. In fact, this one, there's been numerous crusades. This one has never seen a crusade, and the crusades before have been exterminating their people.
how long? Like there's a crusade gearing up now, or like striking pretty much right now.
Yeah.
When was the one before that? Like
The
how
one-
long ago?
The one before this was about 80 years ago,
Uh,
and was also triggered by the Empire's declaring war.
yeah.
And it
Yeah.
basically took a whole bunch of their territory and torched one of their major cities.
Sure.
So after their attack 1,000 years ago, there have been 2 instigations
They
since.
have attacked in the 1,000-year period. They have attacked the Empire 3 times,
Right.
and they have been attacked by the Empire about 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And they haven't
Yes.
attacked the Empire. Yeah, they haven't attacked the Empire for the last 4 wars. They've only been on the defensive.
So there's been 4 wars where the people who presumably now didn't exist when the last offensive was. There's now been 4 wars since the last offensive where people that struck out are dead, where they've been just massacred for being part of the same race, effectively.
I suppose the question is, they're the enemy of the Empire, but are we the Empire? We're not the Radiant Accord right now. We're different now. We're a separate entity. So
Such a fun question to figure out.
Yeah. I think Ceres would make the argument that these are no longer the enemies. These are the children that knew no world in which their people would ever take an offensive. They only know a world of the Empire killing their people.
Yeah.
I think it would be prudent to try to, in that case, find out why the Empire has attacked now and why it did it 80 years ago. Because again, I mean, the Blood Elves would be one thing if they attacked 1,000 years ago and then the Empire's been killing them nonstop since. But they have attacked 3 times at least. So in that case, I mean, they are not innocent in this, and like, yeah,
No, I don't think
I don't know. Amonas would be like too concerned. He'd be like, I mean, yeah, they have attacked us a couple of times. Now they're suffering for it. That seems perfectly just. Like,
I think it's more like Vickers and Ceres's argument seems to be more. Yeah, the Blood Elves definitely did it. They definitely paid their price. But now it's just children that they did nothing. The children did absolutely nothing, and now it is children dying.
Yeah, the question is the Blood Elves now the enemy? Because not really. I mean, the enemy has been conquered. They have been killed, and this is a new generation.
The Empire's won the last 4 wars in the row.
Yeah, like,
so the last...
there is nothing left of like conflict that is justifiable for justice now, I feel.
I don't think Amonas would have declared a current war. That doesn't seem, as I said, they seem to have been cowed and like beaten into submission quite a lot. So he might have left it at that, and maybe he thinks that his last excursion is a bit unnecessary, perhaps.
Yeah.
Especially when we have like orc tribes pushing in on these, that seems more urgent.
So Ceres was in the court. Yeah,
But
go on, Travis.
but feeling sorry for them, I don't know. I don't think I'm not as capable of that. And this kid here, he would be like, "Yeah, take the body, bye, good luck," and like, no, he wouldn't like worry, like he wouldn't think twice about sending this kid
Sure.
out. Kid made it here. He can make it back.
Ceres
Good
was
luck.
part of the court when the last war was declared. I mean, that was 80 years ago. Ceres is over 200. Does she remember why?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Does Ceres remember? Is the real question.
That's the thing, yeah. Like, Ceres was active in the court. Like, she was part of effectively the royal family because, you know, lived with them directly.
You can go ahead and roll me a history check if you so desire.
Sure. 19?
Ceres thinks to herself, trying to remember the situation. It's been a while. Yeah, it's been decades upon decades upon decades, and Ceres wasn't really involved in the main decision making of this.
No, of course, yeah.
The last war, to Ceres' best understanding, was a war of exploit. The Blood Elves had valuable resources in their jungles, and they were a weakened foe.
Oh,
It seemed appropriate just to take those resources off them.
that's gross.
That's not.
That's gross.
That's not justice. That's just
not, yeah.
That's just unmotivated like conquest. That's not just at all.
Yeah, that's not a they attacked us. That's just
It was very much a signaling the battle, like, look, look, there is our old enemy just over the hill. Let's go to another war with them.
It's a liberation of the resources, not an invasion or anything.
Exactly. Get it away from those pesky blood drinking cannibals.
Well,
Now that is at least the public side of it. Ceres remembers.
Yeah.
Which, in fairness, apparently was good enough to get most of the nobility on their side.
Mm-hmm.
You also heard a few other interesting things when you were in court.
Mm-hmm.
Especially from the long-standing court magisters.
Okay.
You are quite familiar already with their house.
Yeah.
Obviously, none of the members currently in power happen to be the ones, but still, it's the court magistrate at the time was still part of the house. It has been for the last many generations.
Sure.
They were quite interested in hoping they could one of the advantages of conquering a blood elf, conquering and burning down a blood elven city.
Mm-hmm.
You can also take all their magical secrets and then torch the original copies where no one can get them again. Deprive others of what is admittedly to most people considered rather taboo magic. Well, if you wipe out the records of some of the Blood Elves' old magic, then other people can't use it against the Empire.
But learn it first.
Yeah.
Keep copies of it for the Empire's purposes hidden somewhere. But
that's so gross. That's so gross.
But then just well, what they couldn't let any of your other enemies learn the Blood Elves' magic.
So gross.
I get it from a tactical perspective, but like
it makes so much sense from a tactical, but it was not a war of these are our ancient enemies that have they're rebuilding their forces. We need to strike them down again. It was I want their stuff.
Yeah,
and
we fought them before. It's fine.
And it was convenient. And it was a really good thing at trying to apparently get it was an easy way for the royal family at the time to get essentially to keep the support of the local houses. Because look, we can promise all these resources to our other nobles, which means stop fighting with each other and fight this.
And I bet the propaganda is basically the same this time around as well.
Yeah.
You haven't heard much propaganda, but you imagine it's probably similar.
Yeah. So then, does that affect?
It's the time-long strategy.
Does that affect Amanas's view on it? If the last at least the last 2 times, or last 2 times including that the war was made, it had nothing to do with them being blood elves. It just happened that they were a weak foe that had resources.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean that.
his father basically accepted that the blood elves had paid their price. The war had nothing to do with their offensives. Amanas's father declared war for resources,
Resources.
To
not
get the
because
Empire more powerful.
yeah.
he can relate like in
I
a
mean,
way, like
that makes perfect.
this is a sort of, I mean, morally sure there
Yeah.
are certainly issues here from a Machiavellian standpoint. This is just realpolitik, like you'll be like, yeah, ancient foe, they have lots of stuff.
Oh yeah,
Maybe we can just take that and maybe kill them off at the same time. That would be pretty good.
Tactically and propaganda wise, it makes perfect sense to Amanus.
definitely.
Yeah, sure, but
makes sense, but-
in the context of your oath, is this just?
Would this be something that Amanas would pursue, or continue pursuing?
He
Like
would
in
probably not, in his particular interpretation of his oath, he would probably have considered them conquered, or at least, neutralized in such a way.
Yeah.
right, or at the very least, he would have basically been like, "Look, you need to obey these laws or whatever, but we're not gonna like straight up."
It is certainly within him to give people chances to be like, yeah, sure. I mean, you're beaten. I have you at my mercy. Now follow my rules and accept my sovereignty over you, and you'll be fine. But
Yeah.
if they rise up again and start like, attacking again, then we're like, well, I guess we're gonna burn down the whole goddamn forest now.
Oh yeah,
Well,
sure. I mean,
yeah,
look,
Yeah, forced
within reason.
vassalization. Forced vassalization would be one thing, but that's not what they're going for. So.
Yeah,
No.
no, they're going for extermination.
Right.
So with
well,
that
regardless of the morality and political dilemma, Vicus himself personally
Mhm.
is going to assist this kid, even if there was disagreement in it.
Ceres completely agrees. I think this is one of the rare cases where Ceres and Vicus don't directly go against the king, but don't do exactly what he says anyway.
As long as you don't tell him, this is fine.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to tell him.
No, I'm not going to say
There's
anything.
there's
to him.
definitely a knowing gleam in like
there may be a
Vicus's eye.
reason you weren't invited to the dungeon.
Yeah.
This is exactly why I knew this would
That's
come up.
exactly,
That's
yeah,
why
yeah.
I didn't tell anyone. So yeah, Vicus kind of looks to the blood elf for a sec, and Vicus always has this like pretense of like having this presence, intimidating presence, right? But he kind of just drops it. Like there's no point for pretenses here. And he says, "I have lived a long life, and I have seen what the Empire has done to your people. And prejudices or not aside, what we are now is not the Empire. And what I stand for is not the Empire. And so, if you wish to leave, regardless of our advice not to, I am not going to keep you here, but I am not going to let you leave without assistance. You will get back to your people, and you will tell them what has happened here."
It just stares at you.
I have lived under the yoke of the Empire. I've lived under the oath of the old king and the new one. I have seen the fall of our rule, and I've seen the folly of it. We do not seek to rehash the old. We do not seek to fight wars just because of tradition. We seek to fight justly. And what I believe is what is happening to your people right now is beyond justice. It is unforgivable.
Are you being honest at the moment?
Yeah. As I said, he's dropped pretense. He is just talking from his own personal conviction.
You get the sense you're being scrutinized.
He will let it. He's not hiding anything. You can even someone with the tiniest bit of insight can see that, like, Vickers is, as he's speaking, you can see that he's reliving his memories of his life. Like, he's going through in his head the kind of history that he's lived through. He's seen many things, good and bad. He's lived a life as a spy master. He basically stands on the balance of morality here. He sees both sides. It's not black and white.
I don't see what help you plan to give. I've already got a way to transport the body. It is merely a long journey. Again.
A long journey that perhaps we can plan together. I have roots underneath the ground, unseen, that can assist you as far as I can use them. There will be parts where you'll be left on your own, but I will help you as much as I can. You got here, no doubt. That speaks for something, but
I'm not defenseless.
I'm back. Sorry.
Vic is not. I didn't say you weren't capable, but the world doesn't just wait. The Radiant Crown is moving. Your people are moving. There will be tensions. There will be... The world is shifting. Best not you get caught up in it too early. On your way home, that is. So, I would suggest, if trust is an issue, then I'm afraid it will continue to be so. But I do wish to assist you in planning your journey.
Kind of looks to Ceres. Sighs a bit. I did not come here with hostile intent. I'm not going to fight you to try and break out.
I don't think we want to hold you against your will. But we want you either to understand that we are willing to try and give you a place here. Perhaps even, if she looks at the circles on the floor, perhaps you can even learn from me. And then she'll pull out from one of her pockets the necklace that she has. I don't remember.
That seems to have caught their attention suddenly.
The Heartwood amulet, yeah. Perhaps even learn from this.
You have Lorenzo's amulet.
It is far too much knowledge to let go waste, sit in the ground. You could say I'm a purveyor of knowledge.
You felt it then. You felt how much knowledge is in one of those.
Ceres nods, as I've even used the knowledge stored within. Is a great repository.
We carve those from the great blood trees. Carefully taking bits of the branches, the roots. What you hold contains memories of generations before us.
Ceres nods, listening.
You said you value knowledge.
I do.
And you've been able to find. I know it.
At that, Ceres raises an eyebrow.
Hmm.
Do tell, little one.
My craft. But we passed down our lives on to the next. Every one of those don't know what is hidden inside. There's not many of them. I know she could have memories in them. Even created.
I think. Is it just me or Dark? Are you breaking up a little?
Did I break up?